Good evening. You've had a long day, and now it is time to let your mind drift to a quieter place. Somewhere far away from the noise of today. If you like, you can close your eyes, or just let them rest, unfocused on the screen. You don't need to think about anything you must do. Not tonight. Instead, I'd like to take you on a gentle walk, back in time, to the calm, narrow streets of a Renaissance town, a place where the days pass slowly, and the hours are kept, not by the digital numbers we see today, but by the soft, steady ticking of handmade clocks. We will step quietly into the workshop of a Renaissance clockmaker, and watch the hours pass. From the stillness of morning to the calm of evening, there will be no rush here, no loud noises, just the soft ticking of gears, the faint hum of a wooden wheel turning, and the careful hands of a craftsman at work. So, take a slow, deep breath, and as you exhale, let yourself settle into this peaceful journey. Segment 1. The morning light in the Clockmakers workshop. The morning begins softly in this small town. The sun is just beginning to rise. Its pale gold light falls gently over the rooftops of stone and timber houses, down a narrow cobblestone street. Tucked between a baker's shop and a small merchant's stall, stands the clockmaker's workshop. The shutters are still mostly closed, but a warm glow peeks out through the gaps in the wooden boards. Inside, the workshop smells faintly of wood shavings, brass filings, and linseed oil. On the workbench, there are small tools, tiny files, wooden mallets, brushes, and a careful array of gears, each one polished until it gleams faintly in the morning light. The clockmaker, an older man with gentle hands, begins his day without hurry. He moves quietly around the room, opening the shutters just enough to let in a soft stream of sunlight. Dust motes float lazily in the air, glowing like tiny stars in the beam of light. The clocks on the shelves tick at different rhythms, like soft overlapping heartbeats, each one unique, each one marking the quiet passage of time in its own way. This is how the day begins. Slowly, peacefully. Segment 2. A town still waking outside. The town is still quiet. A few merchants are just beginning to set up their stalls. A baker is carrying warm loaves of bread to the front counter, the smell of fresh bread mixing gently with the cool morning air. The clockmaker can hear the soft creak of cartwheels in the distance, and the quiet tapping of shoes on cobblestones, a gentle rhythm of life. Without rush, without noise, he checks the clocks on his shelves. One is slightly slow. Another is running just a touch fast. With careful precision, he adjusts each one, not because anyone will notice a few seconds here or there, but because, to him, time is a craft, something to be cared for and shaped with quiet devotion. Segment 3. The clockmaker's first task of the day. Inside the workshop, the clockmaker sets his tools neatly on the bench. There is no rush. Each piece of work will take the time it needs. A small wooden box sits in the corner. Inside it is a clock, brought in by a merchant just the day before. Its face is slightly faded, its brass hands worn smooth by years of use. The clockmaker opens it carefully. He listens. The tick is faint and uneven, like a whisper that has grown tired. He adjusts his magnifying lenses and begins to examine the tiny gears. The air is still. The only sound is the soft scrape of a file and the gentle hum of the turning wheel. Segment 4. The apprentice arrives soon. The apprentice arrives. A boy of perhaps 13, carrying a small leather sacca, he enters quietly. For this is not a place for hurried footsteps or loud voices. He nods respectfully to the clockmaker and begins to arrange the small tools for the day's work. They do not speak much. They do not need to. The soft rhythm of the clocks says everything that needs to be said. The apprentice begins polishing a set of brass gears, each one turning beneath his fingers until it catches the morning light. His movements are not yet as sure as the master's, but they are patient. And in this workshop, patience is the most valued skill of all. Segment 5. Life outside the workshop. Outside, the town is now more awake. Merchants call out softly to early customers. A group of children runs past, their laughter echoing off the stone walls. The sound fades quickly as they disappear down another street. The clockmaker works on, barely lifting his head. His world is measured, not by the shouts of the street, but by the soft tick of the pendulum. Time moves differently here. It is quieter, more deliberate. Segment 6. Repairing the heart of the clock. The merchant's clock is still on the bench. The clockmaker carefully removes a small gear, no bigger than the nail on his thumb. He replaces it with another, one he has filed and polished. Himself, the heart of the clock begins to beat more evenly now. Tick tick, tick. It is not the loud, mechanical tick of modern clocks. It is soft, almost like a gentle heartbeat. The clockmaker closes the case, wipes it clean with a soft cloth, and places it carefully back in its box. Segment 7. Quiet. The sun is higher now, filling the workshop with warm light. The apprentice moves to the shelves, checking each clock. Some need winding, some need their weights adjusted. The workshop is full of quiet movement, polishing, adjusting, listening. Each clock has its own voice, its own rhythm. The clockmaker knows them all. Segment 8. The first customer of the day. As the town settles into the late morning hours, a soft knock comes at the workshop door. The clockmaker looks up, and the apprentice quietly goes to open it. Standing there is an older woman, her hands clasped around a small wrapped bundle. She unwraps it slowly, revealing a small pocket watch. Its case is dented in places, its hands frozen still. She explains softly that it belonged to her late husband. It has not worked in many years, but she hoped, perhaps, that the clockmaker might coax it back to life. The clockmaker takes it in his hands and turns it gently, examining the tiny details. He promises to do what he can, and she leaves, her steps lightened by the simple hope of hearing it tick once more. Segment 9. The gentle work of restoration. The pocket watch sits open on the workbench. Its inside is a miniature world of gears and springs. Some are worn, some are stiff with age. The clockmaker carefully cleans each piece, dipping them into a small dish of oil, and brushing them free of dust. The apprentice watches closely, learning. With every slow movement, there is no hurry. This is the kind of work that cannot be rushed. Time, after all, is the craft of patience. Segment 10. A pause for TB. Mid-morning. The workshop is filled with soft ticking, the warm smell of brass, and the faint creak of wood. The clockmaker sets down his tools and pours a small cup of tea. The apprentice joins him, sitting quietly at the edge of the bench. They drink without speaking. Words are not needed here. Outside, the sound of the town carries on. The faint roll of cartwheels, the clip of horse hooves, the gentle chatter of people passing by. Inside, the clocks continue their soft chorus. Segment 11. The noon bellers. The day draws toward noon. The church bell in the town square begins to ring. Its sound drifts gently into the workshop, marking the passing of another hour. The clockmaker listens without looking up from his work. He knows the sound well. The bell has been part of the rhythm of his life for decades. It rings for weddings, for festivals, for ordinary days. And for days like this one, quiet, unhurried, measured in the slow, steady passing of time. Segment 12. A nobleman's visiting. The early afternoon. The door opens again. This time, it is a nobleman from the outskirts of the town. He carries with him a tall, elegant timepiece. Its wooden case, carved with careful designs. It is a clock meant not just to tell time, but to be seen. He asks the clockmaker to adjust it, for it has begun to chime out of order. The clockmaker nods, and accepts it with the same quiet care as all the others. There is no distinction here. Every timepiece is treated with the same respect. Segment 13. Afternoon light in the workshop. As the hours pass, the light in the workshop begins to change. The golden glow of morning is gone, replaced by the softer light of afternoon. The shadows stretch longer across the wooden floor. The dust in the air is less bright now, floating lazily in the warm, dim light. The ticking of the clocks seems gentler too, as if the room itself is slowing down. Segment 14. The steady hands of the apprentice in the warm afternoon light. The apprentice continues his work, He polishes a brass pendulum, turning it slowly in his hands, watching the light dance across its smooth surface. His movements are careful, but there is still the occasional slip of the file, the soft sound of a gear clinking. Against the table, the clockmaker does not scold him. Mistakes are part of learning, and learning is slow. In this place, everything takes the time it needs. Segment 15. The nobleman's clock. The tall, elegant clock from the nobleman's house sits open on the bench. Its mechanism is more complex than most. With extra chimes and hidden gears, the clockmaker works in silence. Adjusting each spring, turning each screw with quiet care, he listens for the sound he knows so well, a soft, balanced tick, steady and calm. When it comes, he closes the case gently and wipes the wood with a cloth, polishing the carved details until they catch the light. Segment 16. Outside the workshop, through the open shutters, the sound of the street drifts in. A group of children play a game with small wooden hoops. Rolling them along the cobblestones, a peddler calls out in a gentle voice, offering bolts of fabric, jars of honey, and strings of beads. Life outside moves at its own rhythm, but here, inside, time is measured in smaller steps. The swing of a pendulum, the slow turning of a gear. Segment 17. A familiar customer. In the mid-afternoon, a familiar figure appears at the door. It is the town's baker. He carries a small wall clock, its wooden frame scented faintly of bread. The clockmaker smiles softly, for this clock has been here before. It is an old one, and it tends to run just a little fast. The baker sets it on the bench, and they exchange a few quiet words, not about the clock, but about the weather, the harvest, and the simple passing of the days. Segment 18. The rhythm of the workshop. The afternoon settles into a steady rhythm. The apprentice files a set of gears. The clockmaker adjusts a delicate balance wheel. The shelves of clocks keep their chorus, each one ticking in its own quiet voice. Outside, the sunlight shifts slowly across the street. Inside, it feels as if time itself is resting here, unhurried, at peace. Segment 19. A glimpse of the town square for a brief moment. The apprentice steps outside to fetch water. The town square is calm, its cobblestones warm in the afternoon sun. The fountain in the center splashes quietly, and a few townspeople sit on benches, speaking softly, or simply watching the day go by. It is not a place of rush or noise. It is a place where time moves as gently as the water in the fountain. Segment 20. Preparing for the evening. Back in the workshop, the clockmaker begins to wind a tall case clock. The weights move slowly, rising with a faint steady sound. The day is not over, but the work is beginning to ease. Evening is coming. The light outside is softer now. The shadows inside are longer. The workshop feels quieter still, as if it too is preparing to rest. Segment 21. The evening light falls. The sun has shifted low in the sky now, its warm rays falling through the tall windows of the workshop. The light is softer, almost golden, casting long shadows across the wooden floor. Dust still hangs in the air, but now it glows warmly, like tiny flecks of gold drifting lazily from the rafters. The ticking of the clocks seems gentler, as if they too feel the approach of night. Segment 22. The final customers. 2 final customers arrive as the light begins to fade. A young merchant comes first, carrying a small desk clock he uses to keep track of his trade routes. Then comes a tailor, bringing a pocket watch with a chain polished smooth by years of careful use. Each is received with the same quiet respect. The clockmaker listens to their words, nods softly, and assures them he will tend to their clocks in good time. Segment 23. The workshop slows with the last customers gone. The workshop grows still again. The apprentice tidies the benches, carefully, placing each tool in its place. The clockmaker adjusts a final mechanism, turning the tiny screws one last time. The soft ticking of the clocks is the only sound now. Even the street outside seems quieter. Segment 24. The town in the evening. Through the shutters, the town shows its evening face. Shops are closing. The smell of warm bread, drifts from the baker's door. The peddler has packed away his fabrics and beads. The fountain in the square reflects the fading light. Its surface smooth, the ripples small. A few townspeople walk slowly home, their footsteps quiet on the cobblestones. Segment 25. Supper, in the workshop inside. The apprentice brings out a small loaf of bread, a wedge of cheese, and a jug of water. They sit at the workbench, eating slowly in the quiet room. There is no conversation about the day's work. There is no need, the clocks speak enough for everyone. Segment 26. The tall case clock in the corner. The tall case clock from the nobleman's house stands finished. Its polished wood catches the dim light, and its pendulum swings gently, back and forth, back and forth. The clockmaker watches it for a moment, listening to the calm, steady rhythm. It is a sound he has known for decades, a sound that has marked almost every hour of his life. Segment 27. Closing the day's work, the apprentice puts away the tools. The clockmaker checks each clock one last time, adjusting those that need a touch more care. The workbench is cleared. The scraps of brass swept gently into a box. Outside, the sky is streaked with soft shades of gold and pink. Inside, the workshop is ready to rest. Segment 28. The bells at dusk, from the church tower. The evening bells begin to ring. Their sound drifts gently across the rooftops, falling softly into every narrow street. The clockmaker listens without moving, just as he did at noon. It is a sound he has always known, and one that has always brought him peace. Segment 29. A quiet town. The town has grown still now. A few lanterns glow faintly in the windows. The smell of suppers drifts through the air. The fountain splashes softly in the square. The sky is a deepening blue dot. It is the kind of evening that seems to invite sleep, calm, unhurried, timeless. Segment 30. Preparing for night. The clockmaker winds the last clock of the day. The apprentice closes the shutters, leaving just a single lantern to light the room. The workshop is quiet now. The day is nearly done. The clocks continue to tick, their gentle chorus marking the slow approach of night. Segment 31. Night settles over the town outside. The sky is deepening into shades of dark blue and silver. The last streaks of sunset have faded, leaving behind the first faint stars. The streets are quiet now, only the sound of distant footsteps, and the soft rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. Lanterns glow faintly in windows, casting warm pools of light on the cobblestones. Segment 32. The workshop at dusk. Inside the workshop, the shutters are closed. The soft light of the single lantern falls across the workbench, gleaming on brass gears and polished wood. The clocks tick in their gentle, overlapping rhythms, some quick, some slow, each one adding to the quiet harmony of the room. Segment 33. A final task for the evening, before the day ends. The clockmaker takes out the small pocket watch that belonged to the old woman's husband. It has been carefully cleaned, its gears restored, its springs gently coaxed back into motion. He holds it close, listening to the tiny, delicate tick. It is steady now, alive again. Segment 34. A moment of reflection. The clockmaker sits back for a moment, listening to the sound of the clocks around him. It is a sound that never truly stops. Even through the night, each tick, each swing of the pendulum, is a small reminder that time is always moving quietly, patiently. Segment 35. The apprentice finishes his work. The apprentice tidies the last of the tools, stacking small boxes neatly on the shelves. He sweeps the wooden floor slowly, his steps soft and measured. The lantern light catches the fine dust in the air, making it sparkle faintly before settling again. Segment 36. A calm exchange of words. Before leaving, the apprentice thanks the clockmaker for the day's lessons. The clockmaker nods, his words few, but his expression kind. There is no rush in their farewell. They know they will see each other again at sunrise, just as they have on so many quiet mornings. Segment 37. The workshop alone. When the apprentice has gone, the workshop feels even quieter. The clockmaker moves slowly through the room, adjusting a clock here, straightening another there. The soft ticking fills the space. A constant companion. Segment 38. Looking out into the street for a moment, the clockmaker opens the shutter a little. The street outside is nearly empty. A single lantern sways gently in the evening breeze. The fountain glimmers faintly in the moonlight. The town sleeps, and soon the workshop will rest as well. Segment 39. The peace of the night, the clockmaker closes the shutter again, and returns. To his bench, he listens to the room, to the many small voices of the clocks. They are steady, calm, untroubled by the passing of days. It is a peaceful sound, one that has filled this workshop for decades. Segment 40. Ending the day. The lantern light is dim now. The tools are put away. The benches are clear. The clockmaker winds one last clock, listening as its pendulum begins its gentle swing. The workshop is ready to sleep, just as the town already has. Segment 41. Midnight approaches. The night deepens. Outside, the streets are empty now, and the faint sound of the fountain has grown softer, as though it too is resting. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke from chimneys that have burned low. The town square lies still, its stones pale beneath the moonlight. Segment 42. The workshop. In the stillness inside the workshop, the only light comes from the lantern, its glow soft and golden. The benches are cleared. The tools rest quietly in their places. The shelves of clocks stand in gentle order, each one ticking softly in the quiet room. Some chime faintly at the passing of the hour, a single delicate note that fades quickly into silence. Segment 43. A clock's gentle voice. The clockmaker sits at his bench, listening to the small, even tick of the pocket watch. It is joined by the deep, steady voice of the tall case clock and the quick, light steps of the smaller clocks on the shelves. Each one speaks its own language of time, but together, they create a harmony that fills the night. Segment 44. Thoughts in the quiet. The clockmaker does not often speak aloud, but in the quiet of the night, he allows his thoughts to wander. He thinks of the many clocks he has built and repaired, of the people who carry them, of the moments they measure. He knows that each clock marks countless small stories, meals shared, journeys taken, letters written. Segment 45. The hours pass softly. The hours pass gently. Outside, the moon moves slowly across the sky. The lantern in the workshop burns low, its light flickering softly. The clocks continue their work, keeping their quiet measure of the night. Nothing disturbs them. Nothing hurries them. Segment 46. A brief step outside. At times, the clockmaker steps quietly to the door. The street is silent. The cool air carries only the faint scent of the nearby fields. He looks up at the sky. The stars are bright, shining gently above the dark rooftops. He breathes deeply, then returns to the warmth of the workshop. Segment 47. The safe rhythm of the night. Back inside, the workshop feels safe and familiar. The rhythm of the clocks is steady, each tick as constant as a heartbeat. There is no sense of hurry here, no rush toward the morning, only the steady, patient work of time. Segment 48. Shadows in the lantern light. The lantern casts soft shadows on the walls, shadows of clock faces, of pendulums, of the gentle curve of the clockmaker's tools. They move slightly as the lantern flickers, like the workshop itself is breathing in sleep. Segment 49. A small adjustment in the quiet hours. The clockmaker cannot resist checking one of the clocks. Its tick is just a touch uneven. With a gentle turn of the key, he brings it back into balance. The sound settles again, calm, even restful. Segment 50. Midnight. In the town far away, a distant bell marks the hour. Its deep voice drifts across the rooftops, over the empty streets, and into the quiet workshop. The clockmaker listens, letting the sound fade, before returning to the soft voices of his own clocks. Segment 51. The night deepens. The night has grown very still. The streets outside are empty. The fountains splash so soft now that it is more memory than sound. The rooftops are pale in the moonlight, and the shadows are long and unbroken. Only the faint glow from a lantern or two marks that anyone still wakes. Segment 52. A world asleep, the town sleeps. The houses are dark, their shutters closed. Inside, people rest, dreaming quietly. While the hours pass without disturbance, the clockmaker's workshop is one of the few places awake, holding the soft heartbeat of time in its wooden walls. Segment 53. The lantern burns loven, the workshop. The lantern's flame has grown smaller, its light pools on the bench, touching the brass of the tools, and casting faint golden glimmers across the faces of the clocks. The air feels warm and still, the ticking of the clocks even more gentle now. Segment 54. Listening to the hours, the clockmaker sits quietly, listening to the many different voices of the hours. Some clocks strike softly at the half hour, others remain still until the hour is complete. Each note fades into the silence, leaving only the calm ticking behind. Segment 55. A small routine, the clockmaker moves slowly through the room, checking the weights and winding the clocks that need a small touch. His steps are quiet, his movements steady. Each clock continues its rhythm, never hurried, never loud. Segment 56. A glimpse at the sky once again. The clockmaker steps to the door. The air outside is cool and still. The stars above are many and bright. There is no wind, no sound of carts or voices. The world is resting. Segment 57. Returning to the warmth. Clockmaker returns to the warmth of the workshop. The familiar smell of wood, oil, and brass greets him. Ticking of the clocks feels like a welcome home. He closes the door gently, leaving the quiet street outside. Segment 58. The midnight hours, the hours pass slowly now. The tall case clock marks them with a low chime, its voice deep and calm. The smaller clocks keep their quicker pace, like the soft flutter of wings. Together, they weave the gentle soundscape of the night. Segment 59. A peaceful stillness. There is a stillness now, so deep that it feels as though the world itself is sleeping. The clockmaker sits, hands folded, simply listening. The sound of the clocks is enough. It always has been. Segment 60. The approach of dawn. There is the faintest hint of change, not light, not yet, but the feeling that morning will come. The clocks tick on, steady and untroubled, carrying the night gently toward the first pale light of day. Segment 61. The first hints of morning. The deep blue of the night has softened now. Through the shutter's edges, a faint silver light seeps in. Not yet day, but the promise of it. The clocks in the workshop keep their calm rhythm, as they always have, unaware of the hour's change. Segment 62. The silent streets before dawn outside. The streets remain empty, but they feel less like night, now and more like a moment in between. The cobblestones are cool, holding the last chill of the dark hours. A faint mist rises from the fountain in the square, curling softly in the early air. Segment 63. The clockmaker's quiet check. The clockmaker rises from his bench and walks the length of the room. He listens to each clock one by one, checking their voices. A few need a small turn of the key. A few need nothing at all. Each sound is steady, each rhythm even. Segment 64. The air changes. The air outside changes just before the first light appears. It is cooler, softer, and carries the faint scent of fresh earth from the fields beyond the walls of the town. The clockmaker opens the shutter slightly, letting a breath of the early air drift into the quiet workshop. Segment 65. The lantern fades. The lantern, which has burned all through the night, now glows faintly. Its light is no longer needed. The soft grey of morning begins to take its place. The flame is small now, and the clockmaker lets it burn down slowly. Segment 66. The first birdsong from outside. A single bird begins to sing. Its call is soft, a gentle note against the quiet of the street. The clockmaker pauses for a moment, listening. The apprentice will arrive soon. The day will begin again. Segment 67. The street awakes slowly. A faint sound carries from down the street. A door creaks open. A cartwheel rolls over the stones. The town is waking in its own slow way. The square is still quiet. but the air carries the first traces of morning life. Segment 68. A warm morning light, the silver of the early hour begins to turn gold. Light touches the rooftops, slips between the shutters, and spreads softly across the workbench. The workshop feels warmer now, though nothing has changed except the sun. Segment 69. Preparing the workshop, the clockmaker moves quietly, straightening the benches, laying out the small tools. It is a new day, but the work will be the same, gentle, patient, steady. The clocks continue their soft ticking, unchanged by the turning of the world outside. Segment 70. The apprentice returns before long. The apprentice's footsteps can be heard on the cobblestone street. He enters quietly, just as he does every morning, carrying his small satchel of tools. The clockmaker nods to him, and the day begins again. Segment 71. Morning in the workshop. Once more, the golden morning light falls softly on the wooden floor. The apprentice opens the shutters, letting the warmth of the day fill the room. The clocks tick gently, each voice steady and sure, welcoming another day. Segment 72. A familiar routine. The apprentice polishes a set of brass gears. The clockmaker checks the tall case clock, ensuring its pendulum swings smoothly. There is no hurry, there never is. The work is the same as yesterday, and will be the same tomorrow. That is the comfort of it. Segment 73. A town slowly waking outside. The square grows livelier. The baker opens his door. The smell of fresh bread drifting down the street. A merchant sets out bolts of cloth, the colors bright in the morning light. It is the same town, the same morning, and yet each day feels quietly new. Segment 74. The return of customers. The day's first customer arrives, a young man with a small clock for his family's shop. It is not broken, only slow. The clockmaker accepts it with the same calm care as all the others. Segment 75. The apprentice learns while the clockmaker works. The apprentice watches closely. He notices how the master's hands move slowly, never forcing a piece into place, always letting the mechanism guide the work. It is a lesson learned, not in words, but in silence. Segment 76. The hours pass, the light shifts across the room. From the golden brightness of morning to the softer tone of midday, the clocks keep their gentle rhythm, marking each moment, though no one inside seems to notice the time. Segment 77. Midday Calmat. Midday. The apprentice steps outside to fetch a small loaf of bread. The square is warm, but still quiet, only the soft sound of voices, the roll of a cartwheel. He returns with the bread, and they share it quietly at the bench. Segment 78. Afternoon. Work in the afternoon. The workshop is filled with soft sounds. The filing of a gear, the click of a latch, the calm ticking of the clocks. The sun rests warmly on the shutters, casting faint patterns on the wooden floor. Segment 79. Evening begins again as the afternoon fades. The light turns golden once more. The church bells ring in the distance, marking the slow approach of evening. The workshop does not rush to finish. The work will wait for tomorrow. Segment 80. The rhythm continues. Evening comes quietly, just as it did the night before. The apprentice tidies the tools. The clockmaker checks each clock dot. The shutters are drawn, and the workshop settles into its soft, familiar rhythm of rest. Asterisk. Segment 81. Another quiet night outside. The streets grow still. Lanterns glow in the windows. The fountain splashes softly. The clocks inside the workshop tick gently, marking the hours as the town drifts into sleep. Segment 82. The comfort of repetition. Clockmaker sits quietly at his bench, listening to the voices of the clock's dot. It is the same each night, and that sameness is its comfort. The clocks have no need to change. Their work is steady. Their voices are constant. Segment 83. A small repair in the evening. Even as the night deepens, the clockmaker makes a small adjustment to one of the shelves. Smaller clocks. The pendulum had been swinging just a little unevenly. Now it settles. Again, balanced and sure. Segment 84. The workshop at rest. The lantern burns softly. The tools rest in their places. The workshop feels warm, safe, familiar. The ticking of the clocks is the only sound in the night. Segment 85. The town sleeps outside. The town lies still. The streets are dark, the windows closed. Only the sound of the fountain remains, and even that is quiet. Segment 86. A steady midnight comes again. The tall case clock chimes softly. Its sound deep and calm. The smaller clocks follow, their chimes blending into the stillness. The clockmaker listens, letting the sound fade into silence. Segment 87. The lantern burns low again. The lantern's light grows dim, just as it did the night before. Its glow touches the brass, the polished wood, the quiet walls. The workshop rests in its gentle glow. Segment 88. Thoughts in the stillness. The clockmaker sits in the quiet, thinking not of the day just past, nor of the day to come, but only of the moment now. The clocks tick softly. The night is calm. Nothing else is needed. Segment 89. The hours drifting past. The night moves forward at its slow, steady pace. Each clock keeps its own time, but together they create a soft chorus that fills the room. Segment 90. Dawn approaches. Again in the east, the sky begins to lighten once more. The night is nearly over. The day will soon begin again. The workshop waits, ready to welcome the morning. Segment 91. The first light, the first pale silver touches the shutters. The lantern is nearly out now, its flames small and faint. The clocks tick gently on. Segment 92. The town stirs. The town begins to stir again. A door opens somewhere. A cart rolls softly over the stones. The world wakes slowly, calmly. Segment 93. The apprentice returns again as before. The apprentice arrives in the quiet morning. Carrying his tools, the workshop greets him with the soft ticking of its many clocks. Segment 94. A day like any other, the work begins again, polishing, adjusting, listening. There is no rush, there never is. The day will pass in the same calm way. Segment 95. The comfort of time. The clockmaker knows that each day will be much like the last dot. The clocks will tick. The customers will come. The hours will pass in their steady rhythm, and that is enough. Segment 96. Afternoon. Once more the day moves forward, the light shifting softly in the room. The clocks keep their rhythm, steady and sure. Segment 97. Evening. Returns. Evening comes again, the same as before. The shutters are closed. The lantern is lit. The workshop settles into its nighttime peace. Segment 98. The still night. The streets are quiet. The town sleeps. The clocks mark the hours in their soft, patient way. Segment 99. Time without end. The clockmaker knows that the days will continue like this. The clocks will tick. The hours will pass, and each day will end in peace. Segment 100. A gentle closing. The workshop rests in the stillness of night. The lantern burns low. The clocks tick softly. The town sleeps, and in the quiet time keeps its gentle pace, carrying the world peacefully forward into another day. Outrov. The last moments before sleep. The workshop rests. The town is still. The night is deep and calm. The lantern glows faintly, its light warm and soft. Falling across the quiet workbench, the clocks tick in their gentle harmony. Each sound is steady, comforting, unchanging. The clockmaker sits quietly, hands folded, breathing slowly, listening to the familiar voices of his craft. The apprentice sleeps in his small home, the townspeople in theirs. The streets are silent, the workshop is alone with the night. The clocks keep their pace. Tick, tick, tick. The sound is as soft as a lullaby. Outside, the stars shine faintly over the rooftops. The fountain splashes gently in the square. The world moves forward, quietly, peacefully. Time carries the workshop and the sleeping town toward the pale silver of dawn. But here, in this moment, there is no need to hurry. The night is calm, the clocks are steady, and the listener may rest. Breathe in slowly, and let go. The workshop will keep time for you. The clocks will keep their rhythm, and you may drift deeper and deeper into sleep. Asterisk.